We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, and that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It was warm and humid in Philadelphia in June 1776 as the American Declaration of Independence was drafted. What beautiful words! One of the most famous sentences of all time. What is the most important invention in human history? The wheel? Electricity? Maybe the microprocessor? I think my vote goes to democracy and human rights. A year ago, I stood here at the opening of the Norad conference stating that, quote, hope is realistic, unquote. Hope. So one of my staff members looked at me the other day and asked, hope, Bård Vegar, so how's that been working out for you the last year? Okay, well, we'll get to that. But before I speak about the spring of hope again, I have to address the winter of despair. Stephen Kaboye spoke up against LGBTQ+ laws in Uganda. Earlier this year, he was stabbed on his way to work and was left to die at the outskirts of Kampala. His injuries were severe, but he survived and he continues his activism. Guillermo, a gynecologist in El Salvador, saw women die because they could not access abortion. He became a vocal advocate for women's right to choose. He was reported to the authorities for conspiring to commit a crime. Fortunately, no case has yet been filed on him. These are but two examples. Advocates for human rights and activists across the globe receive threats and harassment against their families and against themselves. And in the worst cases, they face violence or murder. We are in the midst of a global backlash against human rights. In 2012, less than 50% of the world's population lived in autocracies. 10 years later, the share has increased to 72%, accounting for nearly 6 billion people worldwide. Most of them live in what we would call electoral autocracies, meaning countries that hold elections, but these are sham elections. According to the Civicus Monitor, only 2% of the world's population live in societies where they are free to pursue, yes, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The number of imprisoned journalists has been on the rise for many years, with a steep increase in 2022. Over the last 10 years, nearly 1,000 reporters have been killed while on duty. Since the war broke out in Gaza, 98 journalists and media workers have been killed. Many intellectuals and activists from civil society, also Norad partners, face the same risk. At the World Expression Forum in Lillehammer last year, I met Ukrainian writer Victoria Amelina. She specialized in war crimes committed against the Ukrainian people. This was in May. In July, she was killed in a bomb attack in Kramatorsk, 37 years old. With her death, one more troublesome voice has silenced. Norad's own population survey shows that 73% of us are concerned about the future. And the biggest fear is war. And rightfully so. 2022 was the deadliest year since 1984, with more than 200,000 deaths from state-based conflicts and war. On top of this is a far bigger number, people dying from lack of medical treatment, water contamination, or hunger caused by war. Last week, I visited the Tigray region in Ethiopia. it saw the deadliest war of the last few years. A brutal war in which young, untrained, badly equipped soldiers fought battles and carried out numerous attacks on villages and homes, with widespread violence and sexual assault as a weapon. In Tigray, I also met with Danait, a medical doctor who was born in Mekelle in Tigray and trained there, who walked to the hospital every day during the war because she had no gasoline for her car, who operated on the wounded in daylight because there was no electricity, and who now runs a hospital with support from the ICRC, operating on and treating patients for a range of war damages. And she told me, I used to cry every day during the war, but now I replace the bad memories with new good memories of patients I helped to survive. That is my rehabilitation. So in Tigray, I saw the brutal consequences of war. But in Tigray, I also saw what humankind is able to achieve. I found hope. Because hope, like love, is all around us. Last November, the Supreme Court of Nepal allowed same-sex marriage. Trans women Maya Gurung and Surendra Pandai were the first couple to register. In authoritarian Mali, I met Adam Dicko, who has organized 50,000 youth in an organization promoting democracy and active citizenship of young people in her country. She was invited to address the UN Security Council back in 2022. And despite wars and backlash, social and economic development persist. In Africa, child mortality is expected to decline steeply with the new malaria vaccine and improved healthcare. Globally, the number of low-income countries is steadily decreasing from 35 in 2012 to 26 today. And extreme poverty is actually again on the decline post-COVID, in a slower speed, but still. But my fear is that the backlash against civil and political rights will also, of course, limit social and economic rights. We know from the research the symbiotic relationship between democracy and economic stability. In Norway, we know from our own history how the power of freedom, democracy, and equal rights is there. Democracy fosters higher investment, promotes economic reforms, enhances access to education and healthcare, and can diminish social tension. And most of all, it can produce an inclusive growth that distributes wealth more equally. The combination of rights, democracy, and growth is an unbeatable combination because it is likely to produce real development. My friends, it is the mother of all paradoxes that what was self-evident in 1776 is not so self-evident anymore. Not in the Sahel, not in China and India, not in Hungary or Belarus, not even in the country where these words were written. The power of these unalienable rights, the very idea seems weakened. But it is worth remembering that the revolution of 1776 did not come after a period of low polarization. The French Revolution in 1789 was not caused by stability. And the Universal Declaration of Human Rights from 1948 did not come because of peace, but because of war. Hope can be born out of dark skies. because like Article 1 in the Declaration states, all human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights. They are endowed with reason and conscience and should act towards one another in a spirit of brotherhood. So let's do that. Thank you.